guys, can you see my hand? Okay, that's me. Hi guys, Diva here. I'm a Libra and my name is Diva, hence Diva the Libra. Happy you're here. If you've been here before, and happy you're joining me if you have not been here before. Hi besties. What we're going to be doing today is a mid-year reading journal flip through. Since I've moved to a new place, I've been trying to like figure out my setups with like just on my phone and both like on my camera here, filming like book journal videos and things like that, just because it always feels so awkward. I have not yet figured out the mechanics with my camera of how to film like directly above. I feel like I don't have like the stand up for that yet. That's besides the point. You guys don't want to hear about that. So what we're going to be doing right now is just flipping through my journal until we get to the mid-year point. Yeah, it's kind of awkward to be behind the camera and not seeing you guys head on, which is so weird because I feel like when I first started this channel, I was like so scared to like put myself in front of the channel, just like nervous really. But now not being in front of the camera is really awkward, and just you guys kind of hearing my disembodied like voice that's just like in the void. And that was awkward, so let's get started. As you guys know, this is my cover. I'm gonna, oh, okay, I forgot I'm in preview mode, and when you're in preview mode on Procreate, you can't do stuff like really zooming in or stuff like that, so maybe I'll leave it as I'm going through the pages, but I just feel like this is a better way to present it because it kind of looks like a slideshow presentation when it's in preview mode. But this is my cover, quote unquote, cover page of my journal. As if you guys have looked at my 2024 journal setup video, which is shameless plug also on my channel, you guys saw me like set that up, I think, together. My memory's so bad, I can't remember if we set that up together or if I just showed you guys like before and after, but this is like just very reminiscent of those little like, that's my mom calling. 1 second, guys. Okay guys, back to our regularly scheduled program. Let this shift it a bit. Oop, okay, just to be more in frame. But yeah, I was just talking to my mom, so back to what we were doing. As I was saying, this is my book journal cover page. I feel like similarly to what I did last year, I just kind of wanted, to be honest, the wind to take me where it took me creatively. Like I didn't really go in with like the idea of like, this is exactly what I want to do, this is what I'm gonna make it look like. But the book journal cover does kind of quote unquote dictate what some other pages in the journal are gonna look like my DNF page, my 5-star reads page, as you guys will see. And so with this, I just ended up going with, I knew this library card was just like calling out to me when I kept thinking about what I wanted to do for the cover page. And so once I went with that, everything else just always kind of feels like it falls into place when I think about one aspect. I of course like can change my mind sometimes, but I feel like this really just like came together really perfectly. If you watch another video of mine, my setup video, I was really proud of it. And so yeah, all of these stickers, I really love that they look like they're lifting off the page. I made sure that to get that aspect when I was looking for things on Pinterest. And so journal established 2024, and then Diva S, and yeah, the yellow notebook paper you guys will also see, not just yellow, but like other colors of the notebook paper make an appearance later on. And so this is her in all her glory. Why did I say glory like that? Her glory. And let's go to the next page. And next is my 5-star reads page, which looks really sad when you look at it because there is only one manga on there right now, which is Countdown to Yes, which is a manga I read recently about 2 friends who are romantically in love with another, but one of them doesn't want their relationship, friendship to change for reasons that I don't want to say because that would be like a spoiler. But it was very short, sweet. I feel like the art style is just like, I'm always a sucker for pretty art, and this one is just like very expressive and very like heartwarming, especially when it comes to like the characters expressing like their feelings for one another. And also I feel like this manga just really reminded me, like, of course, like what I liked about the friends to lovers trope, because honestly it is one of my least favorites in the way it's often executed, is that I really like when you can understand like the crux of their friendship and why they are so like close in that way, and it makes their romantic relationship even more sweet and even more deep. So yeah, I need to add more, well, to add more books to this, I need to read more 5-star reads, but I don't really necessarily feel like I'm picky about my 5-star reads. It's just like, I know the feeling of a 5-star read like when I read it, to be honest. Like I'll close a book and I'll be like, 5-star. 5-star. I know some people like say like their 6-star reads are books that like they will always recommend, but that's like my 5 stars for me basically. And sometimes I feel like different in reflection about a book than I do when I first finished it. Like I'm thinking about this book that I read recently that will be coming out soon by the time this video is posted. I feel like The X-Vows by Jessica Joyce. I rated it 4.5 stars because I had like a small critique, but now that I'm thinking about it in reflection, I feel like it wanes. Is that the right word to be using? I feel like it pales in comparison to all the rest of the things that I loved about it, and I honestly can't stop thinking about it right now in terms of like the things that I enjoyed. And so I feel like it sits at a 4.5 comfortably right now, but I feel like so many of the books I enjoyed this year, I range in between like a 4 to like a 4.75. A 5-star is just like a book that I like Everest. That's not the right word. A book that I really deeply loved, and I feel like at will I'll be like, yes, I recommend that. Yes, I recommend that. But you know, we will come back to you. We are going to add you up with more. By the time I give you guys my end of year journal wrap up, this page will look a lot more filled. Hopefully. Well, you know, it's not really like, if I don't always give a book a 5-star, it's really not the end of the world, but I think I am surprised by how little I have given this year, unfortunately. But yeah, let's go to the next page. So the next page is my DNF page, same white notebook paper as you guys can see. This is a composition notebook that I put stickers all over, and it says DNF, which is did not finish. As you guys will see, if you would like kind of more details about how I set this up in the first place, you should go to my 2024 journal setup video. That is a couple videos back. That will give you an idea of like, I do this on Procreate, who I was inspired by, Brando's books on Instagram and TikTok, and just kind of like how this all came to be. This is more of like a walkthrough video, just like explaining more about like what has been updated since you guys last saw it in January. But yeah, these are the books I did not finish. DNFing does not have to necessarily do with like it subjectively being like bad. It's just sometimes like I'm very much like a mood reader. I'll start a book and be like, I'm not in the mood for magical realism. Oh, what did I just say? I'm not in the mood for magical realism right now. I'd rather read like a contemporary romance without elements of that, or I'd rather read like a fantasy. And so sometimes I'll put down a book and like pick up another one. These three I feel like are ones I'm probably not going to finish, except maybe Lipsticks and Camera Clicks, because I might come back to it. It like kind of had me interested. The Breakup Tour was told, well, these are the reasonings why I feel like I DNF'd these all. The Breakup Tour was told in dual POV first person. When it comes to romances, I feel like that's really not my preferred method of storytelling. There's just always something about it that leaves me wanting more. I feel like when it is told in dual POV, I would prefer third person omniscient, or it just being told from like one person's point of view in first person. Don't get me wrong, there have been books that have been told in dual POV first person that I have really enjoyed, particularly, which always comes to mind, which is the second book in the Knife of Never Letting Go series. That was surprisingly told in dual POV first person, and I really enjoyed it. When it comes to romances, it's just not really my cup of tea, but I feel like that was also the case for Wild Love, which I'll get to. But also in addition, for the Breakup Tour, the writing just felt kind of awkward and stilted, which was surprising because I've read a book by this author duo before when they wrote primarily young adult, and I really enjoyed those books that I read from them. This is the first book I've read by them since they have like aged up the demographic they're trying to reach. But yeah, Lipsticks and Camera Clicks, and I think about a love triangle is, I feel like colloquially as we know it, not like everybody loves each other, but like one person is being vied for by two people, is that even if it's very obvious like who the main character, even if it's very obvious, why can't I speak? Who the main character is going to end up with, I want it to be compelling. I want it to be chemistry filled. Or if it's not obvious who the main character is going to be ended up with, I want us to be at war. I want it to be, is it going to be him? Is it going to be them? Is it going to be her? Like, you know, like keep me on my toes. I just feel like that kind of fell flat in this aspect. I think it was nice for a debut, which I think that is from this author, but it just didn't necessarily keep me hooked concept-wise either with like the reality TV show. And then Wild Love, similarly like I was saying to the Breakup Tour, this is told in dual POV first person, which wasn't necessarily the main aspect that was bothering me, but more so just that this is also a billionaire romance. In addition to kind of being like a cowboy western romance, it's like the second series in addition to like the Chestnut Spring series. It's like the spin-off, I guess, even though I haven't read the Chestnut Spring series, as you guys know. But when it comes to Wild Love, I just feel like there was just something that was really not interesting me about the male main character. And since we spend half of the book in his head because this is told in dual POV first person, that's the thing about dual POV first person. Like if I'm not interested in like one of the main characters like points of view, it just leaves me very like, this always feels like a slog to get through, you know? And so I still have the book checked out from the library though, and so I may try to pick it up again, but I'm not sure. But yeah, this is the DNF page and what it's looking like. I don't spend a lot of time on this page, to be honest, because there aren't a lot of books that I've actually DNF'd this year. I've finished most that I've picked up, or I've gone back to them later, but yeah, this is what it looks like. So let's go next page. This is my TBR or to be read page, which again, as you can see, white notebook paper background, and this has like a little like hello my name is sticker where I wrote to be read, and then all these little stars. It's just kind of reminiscent of like, I guess like when you meet people and you have those little hello my name is. I don't really know what this has to do with the theme of journaling and like school and stuff like that, but as you can kind of see, they all kind of go like creatively in theme with one another, so I hope you guys get the vibe. But these are all books that are on my TBR list, or that I am currently like read a part of, or like I'm gonna pick up back again. I more than assume. So there's really not much to say about this page, but like this book in particular, I have heard like such good things about. The 6 Deaths of the Saint. I've heard it's also just like fairly short. See like a couple shout outs. I've heard really great things about Modern Divination, but I think I'm gonna wait until read that until the fall, which is why some of these books are also on here. They feel very like seasonal, like I should be reading this in the fall or in the winter. That's what it's shaping out to be. And then if I do read it, I said before that I was just gonna check it off, but more than likely I'll just remove it from the page so I can like add more books to there so I can remember the ones I want to read. You know, A Love Song for Ricky Wilde used to be on here, but I took it off recently because I read it. So I feel like I like that more than like leaving a check mark over it. This is my genre tracker page. I have not recently updated it, I think for May or June. It's missing a month right now, I can tell, because I've finished more books than this. But as you can see, this is the genre tracker. This was one of the last pages I made in my journal last year. And so, you know, she has all these cute little stickers. I filled in some of the bubbles and the letters with colors. And these are the different genres by different color concordance, and then some of them were kind of hard to put into genres. Like manga is not like a genre, but I wanted to differentiate it from like a book that I read, just to like for my own recognizance, because like when I look at some of these bubbles, I can remember, oh, at the beginning of the year I read this contemporary romance. It was pink, so that must have been like blah blah blah. I changed the rules sometimes because I want a book to be more recognizable to me. Women's fiction is yellow, lit fic is blue, fantasy is purple. And so like I said at the beginning of the year when I was making my journal, that like this would probably be filled up with like pink, and as you can see it kind of is. Manga is really not a category, so I feel like I should change that, but like this clearly tells me like, okay, this was a manga. As you can see, if you were to zoom in the little bubbles, they have words written in them. So like the pink is romance, and it was a paranormal, so I wrote paranormal in it. Like the blue, it was a manga, and it was romance plus a shoujo. It helps me kind of remember exactly what book I was referring to when I put it in here, which is just for like my own, I want to reflect on it and think about it. But yeah, this is what it looks like. Notebook paper. If you kind of see this, like, it kind of looks grainy like a doodle. A lot of what I used to make these journal pages was the pen ink bleed. If you use Procreate and you're at all interested, it gives it a very just like, it looks like pencil or crayon look, and so that's what I really wanted to go for this journal. And so those are what I kind of call like my, I don't know, there's like my journal pages, which are my individual journal pages, and then there are more of like my category pages, which are like the DNF, the 5-star read, the genre tracker. And now we're getting into more of like where the journal feels like it really starts, if that makes sense. So this is my January page. Every month kind of has like the cover page. So there's January, you'll see as we flip through it, January, February, March, and each one is indicative kind of what the month feels like or is about. So like January was Happy New Year. We were starting off 2024, and so I put together like all these pieces, some of the stars, the confetti, the disco ball, that just made it feel like the new year. And so yeah, that's January, and let's swipe and see. This was the playlist of the month, and so for the playlist of the month, it's pretty indicative of what it's named, which are, I choose 3 songs that I was really obsessed with during that time. I'll usually pull up like my Spotify like receipt and be like, what were the top 3 songs that I couldn't stop listening to, and then 3s were the 3 for January. It's just nice because it allows me, this isn't like a book aspect of my reading journal, but it's just nice because it allows me to reflect on the songs like I really enjoyed during that time, and it allows me to also go back and like remember some good music. So I'll be like, oh my god, I really loved She's So Good at the time, I should give that song another listen and become obsessed with it all over again. As you can see, the notebook paper is blue, and each kind of background for the playlist of the month kind of correlates to the month that is a part of. I know these two are not really similar at all, but it was kind of, I didn't really necessarily want to make this one white. That kind of felt like kind of boring, and so I made it blue. I may change it to like black and white, I'm not sure. But there's a CD, some headphones, a little phone, and then a boombox. And these are these little like iPod screens, and I'll take these like album covers, put them in, and then I'll write down the song that I really listened to for this month. It was Itzy's Born to Be, Naomi Scott's She's So Gone, and the 50 Cents and Neo's Baby by Me. And so I feel like there's not much to say, but I just like this page because it allows me to go back into my category and be like, okay, what did I listen to a lot? Sometimes I even surprise myself. I'll be like, oh, I didn't realize I listened to that much this month. And so yeah, these are my kind of like bookshelves where I keep all of the books that I've read or DNF for the month. I feel like I don't include DNFs on these pages anymore. I just put them in my DNF page that you guys saw earlier, and so I'm probably going to take this off actually just because it doesn't really need to be there anymore. But this is January. I'll usually put 2 stickers that are kind of like indicative of the cover month that I use. Like I put some stickers here, and I'll put them here, just look on either side. You guys will see as I flip to other pages, and you guys recognize these. These are the stars that were from the 5-star read page, which is how I put the ratings here. So like Bride was a 4.5, Confessions of a Relative Girl Boy a 3.5, and then the Burmese Book Club was like a 3. And so I feel like I say yeah because like from this point on, the others kind of look very similar in the sense of like February, March, they all kind of look like this. There's like the cover page, the playlist of the month, and then this bookshelf, and then we're gonna get to the individual journal pages. And so just if you guys find it kind of repetitive, this is what it is gonna start looking like after this. First, let's swipe to what I think is an individual journal page from Strong. I'm gonna be really embarrassed, and it is. If you guys go to my January video where I talk about like recapping the books that I read that month, you guys will see me talk about like Bride and the Burmese Book Club, and you'll actually be able to see me like a video of me drawing it and everything. So if you're interested at all, go watch a video, shameless plug. These are what the individual journal pages like look like. If you also want to see like my templates, you can go back to that video because it shows like what this page looks like when it's a blank and me taking it to like this point. But I really start from like scratch. What I will take elements of are like the cover has a lot of like lavender that has these little stars in it, and so it's lavender. I took some of like the kind of like mystical swirly elements, if you guys can see in the cover, and I put them in the background. And then What really the book journal page is supposed to do is like convey elements of the book to me. And so like to talk about aspects of the journal page, if the book is a manga or a graphic novel, the cover will kind of be oriented over here. If it's like not a manga or graphic novel, it'll go over here. That's really nothing more than the sense of like I just wanted the formatting of my pages to be different, and this kind of switches them up stylistically, because if the cover is over here, the title is over here. If the cover is over here, the title is over here. So in this case, the title is over here, the Bromance Book Club. You guys can see I will copy over the font by very slow tracing. As somebody who like doesn't have the steadiest hand is a bit of a struggle, but like it's very rewarding. I feel like the title, especially by the end, because the way it looks copied over from the cover is just very satisfying. I usually will always have like 2 Polaroids that will be empty that I will include some pictures in. So like this is the, if you guys didn't know, this is the Bromance Book Club like manga version that I just stumbled upon and was like, oh, I should read this, and I did read it. I already read the book before, so there were like no surprises, which is why I gave it like a 3-star. I didn't really feel any differently about it than I did when I first read it. Fun, interesting concept, and I feel like the manga really made it even more fun in terms of like the art style. I could now put like faces to names in that sense, but I did still feel like the ending was a bit like odd in its pacing. And so I take elements from like the manga, like pictures that are available like on the internet, main characters, the guy in his book club. This is from another like alternate cover of the manga, and just add like these are like some random wedding rings I found online that are like cartoon style. I'll just add elements that like remind me of the book. This is a second chance romance, like I want us to start over, just like elements that remind me of it. This is a little bubble where I put like the dates I read the book from and to. This is my newest element that I added to this journal that I didn't have for my last journal, which is like the format by which I had read the book, and this is like the star rating. And so this feels so long ago, but I feel like it was yesterday that I was making this page, which just shows like how fast time is moving, which is really scary, and I'm not gonna think about it. Yeah, that's the first example. To swipe to the next one, I didn't say, but in this little bubble is where I write my thoughts about the book. If you guys want to zoom in a lot, you guys can see what I say. But that's really where I convey like all of my thoughts, not all of my thoughts, but like the space of the bowl fits like what I thought about it. As you can see, like different strokes for different books, and so like this color scheme is pink, and this is also not a manga or graphic novel, so it is on the right hand side. And so I ended up giving this a 3.5. This page actually took me a while because I wanted to include the elements of like the character art on this page, but it was really a bit difficult to like move everybody around where like she's down here and they're up there, and like you know. I'll like fan cast people from Pinterest who remind me of what I think the main character would have looked like, or just like kind of like a vague fan cast, to be honest. So let's go to the next page. See, this was Bride, a completely different mood. And if you guys are ever curious about like what brushes I used or like what pens I used in Procreate to like make certain things, like feel free to ask like in the comment section if I don't touch on it, because I just realized I'm kind of skipping over that. Like for example, I was looking at these stars and I can't remember what pen I used necessarily, but like I can always go back and look. Procreate is really, I feel like, user friendly to somebody who is like a beginner. I watched like a couple tutorials. Really the best way to learn though was just like by diving into it and just like starting off with practicing, doing a couple journal pages like when I started like about a year-ish and a half ago at this point. And the more you get used to it, the better, honestly. I feel like you just get back like collaging. This is like combining all of my loves, like Pinterest, collaging, books, reading. And so for anybody who's interested, I would definitely recommend, because like I've said before, this is my favorite hobby. And so this is Bride. As you can see, for like sometimes I'll choose to take over aspects of the cover and sometimes I won't. There's really no rhyme or reason to it, just sometimes I want to, and sometimes I feel like it fits with the journal page and sometimes I feel like it doesn't. And also, if you guys can see, when I put the cover art on the page, I will include the artist who drew it, like their social media handle or their name or their @ So to go back, this is Bride, vampires and werewolves and supernatural and like fantasy elements, and so I feel like this page really evokes that. There's like the moon in the corner, there's a wolf, this is the male love interest. He has like piercing white green eyes. We can't bring over everything all the time to the journal pages, so like if you look really closely, like the wolf has like light-ish green eyes, but like you maybe can't see it. Not everything is always perfect. The perfectionist in me always wants it to be like so close to the book like as possible in terms of like fan casting. And next page, and the next page is February, which as you guys can see, this is what I was kind of talking about when I said like the month pages aren't exactly similar, but they just kind of give the vibe of like scrapbooking, and like this is like a journal, but this is like a girl's like magazine cutouts, I guess. Like that's kind of the vibe I wanted to give. And so this is February. I get all these pictures from Pinterest. As you can see, this kind of vibe was in theme of like Valentine's Day, hearts, sweethearts, all that stuff, which will probably be evident for February. And so for February, there's like the little, as I was saying about for January, there were like the little star stickers. For February, there's like little heart stickers. These are all the books I read. I read a lot of Kristen Higgins like backlists, which I'm not like confused by, but like, Diva, you read these like all in a row back to back. I remember at the time when I was like on a short road trip with my mom after I read like her first book. This was like a small town romance series. I think I was curious about why she had shifted from romance to women's fiction, just out of curiosity, and I ended up reading this whole short series. I read the 7-Year Slip manga, and then I'm going to take these DNFs off because I feel like they belong on the DNF page and they don't necessarily need to be on my bookshelf. And I feel like I'm going to start like flipping through the pages now, maybe a little bit more quickly, because I feel like I've kind of given the run through of what you guys will expect for the rest of the journal. Don't know why the next page that came up was not the playlist of the month, which I'm like, did I preview it? I'm not sure. But like, this was the best man. I will distort images. I will like stretch them, size them, because like this barn picture was like, I raised it higher, I stretched it, I moved it over just to like change elements of what I want to fit the page like for my needs. These little clouds, and sometimes also like if pages have similar-ish vibes, like there are some books I've made journal pages for where I need sky and I need clouds. I'll just copy this over and I'll put it on another page. Like, work smarter, not harder. This is the page for the 7-Year Slip. This is the page for a manga that I read. This is probably gonna lead us to the next month, just like I thought. And so this was March. I mean, I don't think I need to tell you what theme I went for with March, thinking like St. Patrick's Day. And so there's like a rainbow, there's 4-leaf clovers, kind of the similar like scrapbook lettering to February. Oh. Okay, embarrassing. I forgot I fell into a reading slump in March. But yes, I used this little picture when I fell into a reading slump, and I did for the month of March. So no bugs here, just the playlist of the month. Very obsessed with this when this first came out. I remember I listened to it a lot. I don't think I'm ever gonna stop being obsessed with this song, and I still was really enjoying Born to Be. This is April. Went with a different kind of lettering style for this month, like little jewelry beads, and the back is little umbrellas because it rains a lot in April. It's spring. For here I read Novel Love Story, and then I read First and Then I read The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. April wasn't actually that long ago, I'm realizing in reflection, because I'm like, oh, I didn't read these books that long ago, it feels like. But it just feels like the summer is moving really quickly. I mean, we're already in July. And so this was the one for A Novel Love Story. And I feel like I should have mentioned when I read the book as an advanced reader's copy, which I'm always thankful for, because I'm like, Diva, if little Diva knew she was getting advanced readers copies of books like before they were released, she would like actually lose her marbles. And so I put this little square that says ARC, which means I read it or it was released publicly. I really love the color of this book. That is something I feel like Ashley Paulson, whoever designs her cover, The Dead Romantics, 7-Year Slip, does like spectacularly well, where it's like, I feel like her books, before people were recommending them to me, always still caught my eye, because I'm like, the just like rich nature of this blue is just like so well done. Tracing this was a lot, but look how pretty it looks. Like, I feel like this thing for me why I love my book journal is just, it feels so like rewarding in a sense where like when it comes out exactly the way I want it to. Like, I feel like this page like hits all the elements of like what I want it to. This was First and Then. I read Emma Mills's debut. If you guys know, Emma Mills were one of my favorite books, Foolish Hearts. This was Emma Mills's debut, and I feel like I said this also in my little bubble. You can tell that this is her debut, and I say that because it has like all of the bones of everything I enjoy about her writing, but like it doesn't really hit the mark in that sense. The main character in this book really loves like Jane Austen novels, and so that's what these are. What I really like about this page is this aspect right here, which I feel like maybe you guys can't really see too closely, and I feel like maybe I'll go back and I'll show like little zoom-ins. The preview aspect is like really nice for the flipping through, so we're gonna stay in this. A large part of this book is the main character, Devin. Her younger cousin Foster comes to live with her, and so like I'll use this little Polaroid, like somebody holding it, and I'll just change the picture inside, and then I'll write little like doodles of like, right here it says like Foster and Devin. Like, an aspect I really love of the journal pages is the Polaroids, because I can put like any picture in that, whether it be like scenery wise or like people wise, or like I feel like you guys can kind of see like Welcome to Aloriton. I actually made that lettering in Aloriton. I don't know if you guys can see. That's why I feel like I need to maybe like zoom in to like show you guys like the really like finer details of the pages, but yeah. The lesbiana's guide to Catholic school. I gave this 3 stars. I really like the colors in this page. Another example of like similar to a novel love story, or like a cover can do so much for the marketing of a book. Like I feel like this book, yes, was talked about a lot when it first came out, but it's always caught my eye because, and I picked it up years later, like because I read this, as you guys can see, like a couple months ago, because the covers always caught my eye. So when I finally saw it, I was like, I should just read it. Similarly with like Polaroids, I read it in a physical form, and so I feel like you guys are kind of getting the gist of what the journal pages look like. This was the playlist of the month. This was May, so as you guys can see, collage like lettering, simple-ish kind of background, because you know, May just feels evocative of like summer is about to start. I read Hench. Whoa, where is the... Oh, okay, I just see some of the pages in preview order, out of order, I don't know why, but this is May, so I took some of the little flowers from that picture and put them here. I read Hench, Funny Story, and Open Water. So I'm gonna go backwards. This is the one for Open Water. I really love how this came out. I feel like everything, not too many pictures on this page, but everything comes together very well. You guys can probably see in other journal pages, sometimes there's like a lot of pictures, a lot of like elements that I use and everything comes together well, but sometimes I don't use as much and it just works out still fine. This is the one for Funny Story, and I should raise that journal rating because I see, in reflection, I made it 4 stars, as I rated 3.75 when I first finished the book, but I was like, I enjoyed it a little more than I thought, so 4 stars. See, these are the details I feel like I maybe need to zoom in on, and I maybe won't, but like, I just want you guys to know that I do it because I have no chill, I guess. This person that I used to, was supposed to be like, indicate the male love interest, does not have tattoos. I took that from another picture and I imprinted, I guess this is the best way to say, like, on him. A lot of elements can be used, like the erasing tool is my best friend. There's like this blurriness tool you can use. I really love also how the colors came together on this one, like the pink and the blue, and this is the one for Hench. Also really love how this one came out. I feel like this is similar to what I was talking about for Open Water, where it's like, it looks like there's a lot of empty space, but like, I feel like it comes together exactly the way it needs to be. I feel like I was very like, sometimes empty space bothers me more than other times, but I feel like here for Hench, which gives like a very like ominous feeling, it works like perfectly. This is supposed to indicate like our female main character. I gave her silhouette a cane because she walks with one. The blog that the main character works on after an incident in the book happens. This is the playlist of the month. This is my bookshelf. I feel like this is something that is better seen when it's like, I can zoom in and you guys can see like the individual like spines, but this is basically exactly what you guys see. This is where I keep all the books that I finished in 2024. We're up to the 2nd shelf. We are gonna be up to this 3rd one by the end of the summer. Yeah. I don't know, I don't really give myself a reading goal to necessarily like pressure myself, but like sometimes I'm like, to myself, I'm just like, Diva, why are you on TikTok when you should be reading? Just from like myself, I'm like trying to limit my screen time, and I like recognize something. I'm like, oh Diva, I'm always complaining about like how I didn't read this month, and I'm like, okay Diva, that's you though. Like sometimes I'll be talking in like the 3rd person about like, Diva, why didn't you do this? And I'm like, Diva, you are Diva. Like, stop blaming like some figment of your imagination. Which sounds a lot crazy as I say it out loud, but these are the books I read in 2024. If you guys saw my last year hook through, this is a page I brought over from there. I just changed certain colors for like the lamp, the couch, and I'm gonna come back to this page and zoom in on it once I flip through the rest of the journal. And we're at June, which is the month that just passed, so we're basically at the end. Tried a little bit of like a different patterning, but I felt like the quilt kind of was indicative of like a picnic you'd have in the summer when you're with your friends, and so I was saying picnics, and so I chose like this little basket. So these are the 4 books that I read. This was Countdown to Yes. I really like how this page came out, especially the way like the sky, like the dark blue and the light blue, I like scribbled in, and then the sand and like the water are a picture that I incorporated into like the drawing. So like, I love when things like that, it really just looks like it's blending together. I found these little like cartoon bird outlines like on the internet, and I filled them with white. This was truly Madly Deeply. I read this book like in public at the library because I feel like I wasn't expecting it to be as spicy as it was in certain scenes. Some of the empty space around here is very much admittedly like bothering me in this case. I don't know why, but I like feel like I need to fill it up with something, like adding something, I don't know what. I usually do not like to fan cast celebrities. Like, if you have noticed, you guys probably have not seen like a celebrity on any of these pages. I don't know why, but in just like my head, if I were to fan cast a celebrity, every time I look at the page, I'd be like, that's not the character from the book, that's like Logan Lerman, or like that's Dylan O'Brien, if that makes sense. And so I usually try to avoid it, but like if you've seen the cover of this book, I feel like the male love interest is so clearly supposed to be based on him if he had more freckles in real life, and so it felt kind of silly to just like not choose him, and so I did. This is a page I did this month that I really loved because I really loved this book, so it probably is reflecting in how much time I spent on this page. The X-Vows was a cover that I really liked, but I didn't see myself taking over the cover art, the two people onto the page. I just felt like it would, especially when there's like writing over it, it like fits just kind of awkwardly. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes I feel it will and sometimes I don't. And this was just like one of those cases that I didn't. And so I didn't draw all of this, let's not say that. But like, if you remember from The Best Man, so I was saying, I will take clouds from other pictures and put them here. I did exactly that. Just color them different things. I didn't take over it the cartoon elements except like the little leaves and the little berries, but I'm kind of like surprised myself how similar it looks. Like, it's of course different, but it's like if this was like an alternate universe. I just really like how this came out. I really like especially how the sky came out. Like, there's a blurriness effect that I added that makes it all just look very blended together. Again, another case where like there's only one picture of the couple, but it feels like it says like everything it needs to say. This was a second chance romance. This book hasn't come out yet. It was an arc, so don't want to spoil too much. Like, don't read, I just realized, don't read that bubble. I don't even think I spoiled anything in there, but don't read that bubble if you don't like even want to hear anything about it. I recently have just been a little disenchanted with second chance romances, the way that they're stylistically like formatted, especially the past and the present, the past and the present, the past and the present. This book takes completely, wait guys, 1 second. This book completely takes place in the present, which I just feel like was just like such a nice change of pace. And also there were just like enough to tell me about like why the couple broke up without feeling it constantly had to put me in the past of their relationship, because I also feel like it gave me and the book like enough like breath to like move into like this new relationship that they needed to for themselves. There's like a light pen on Procreate to create like the little like sun that's coming out from like behind the mountain, as there is here. And this is the last journal page that I've done recently, which was a love song for Ricky Wilde. Adore how this background came out. I used a pen that I'd never used before called like Nebula, I think, and just to kind of get all, because you know, you guys can see this cover. It is two people kind of have this like holographic, really cool holographic on this face, if you can see. It really didn't feel like, and especially because the title is covering all of it, it didn't really feel like there was a way I could compute that. And so, you know, I just made some changes. I feel like this empty space right here is bothering me a little bit, but I really like the way this kind of, here's the title, and then here's like the creative aspect of it. It's about, there's magical realism, there's some fantastical elements. I thought this was just, I really love the way the tale like unspun itself. There were some things I did see like coming, but I feel like this book was less about that and more about the way it was conveyed. I thought it was like really beautiful. I also feel like this was a really beautiful love letter to Harlem. As somebody who has not been to New York in a while, it really made me miss it. I haven't written my thoughts yet, and so that's why this little bubble is blank. This is the playlist of the month, and so that is it. I feel like I want to zoom in a little just on this. You guys can see that this is what the spines look like. Here's the one for the X-Vows, where I did decide to incorporate the cover art into the spine. These of course are not what the spines actually look like on the actual books. Like, this is not what the spine of Bride looks like, I think, and this is not what the spine of like, well, this is actually what the spine of Honey Story looks. That's a bad example, but I changed them up a little bit to fit more. You know, the spine of the book does not look exactly what the cover of the book looks like, but I will sometimes add elements from the cover onto the spine because I just want the book to be more recognizable to me, and also just like so it gets its own little flair, you know. Like, I might add some flowers to Love Story for Ricky Wilde, I'm not sure. This is Countdown to Yes. You know, I incorporated like the little birds here. I just feel like I promised I would show you guys the tattoo. So I'm gonna zoom in. Yeah, these are the tattoos. Yeah, I feel like that's about it. This is what the pages look like when I'm in like about to doodle mode, and I named the pages like after the books. This is April Bookshelf, this is Hench, this is Book Trend 2024. That was my journal flip through. I feel like I was so out of breath this whole time because I have like the biggest problem with speaking so fast for no reason. But yeah, I really appreciate all kind of like the love and the support that I've got from my book journal videos, and that people are really just interested in hearing about them as much as I am in like making them, because I remember always being like, I'm just kind of keeping these to myself. Like, I should share these with other people. And so if you have any questions about like pens I use, or like you wanted like, oh, you kind of skipped over this, like I would love to know more about that, like feel completely free to ask in the comments. And yeah, you guys will see more of this probably at the end of the year, or maybe before that if I decide to do like another like third quarter update, but we'll see. Bye guys.